So thank you. I love food questions. So thank you for the question. Question right here.
Have you ever tried answering a question without being funny and see how people respond?
Have I ever answered a question without being funny and letting people respond?
Without using satire. Like,
oh yeah.
Answer it.
No, I mean every question. When it comes to any question, I want to answer it in the best possible way. So sometimes you have to be a little bit harsher, a little bit meaner than other times. And other times, well, I mean, frankly, you know, I mean, frankly, it's not really, some things aren't a joking matter. I'll give you an example. Somebody recently wrote in, somebody that I know actually, and she said that her, I just figured when in Rome, right, do that. So, okay, anyway, so somebody wrote in, her family member was recently killed in Mexico by the drug lords, I mean, by the narcos, and so she said, I don't, you know, I'm ashamed to be Mexican at this point. Like, it was just really sad. So she's like, how can I ever possibly be proud to be Mexican again? So, you know, my response obviously was a little bit more simple, or more serious, and the response was simple. It was, you know, you can't, you know, first of all, my thoughts and prayers goes out to your family. You know, I just feel for you so bad, and I knew this, girls, I just felt so bad, and I said, and thank you for even sending this question to me. The best advice I can give you is that those jackals only represent a part of Mexico. You can't say they are all Mexicans or drug lords, because it's not the case. It's the same sort of stereotyping that people make about Mexicans here in the United States. All Mexicans are gang members, this, that. So, you know, so that was a more serious response. Other times, I mean, you know, again, it depends. Like I once answered a question on, you know, this was in 2008, so your fellow Occidental former student, Barack Obama, people wanted to know, why won't Mexicans vote for a black man as president? So that question, it was a little bit more straightforward to the edge, but at the same time, just based on the column, I don't want to give a boring response. If that means, I mean, you could give a non-boring response without having to be funny, but I do not want to give a boring response. I don't want to sound like a pundit going blah, 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 blah. The challenge as a writer, especially as a columnist, you have to make sure that every single word is entertaining. I never leave it up to chance, or I never assume that, oh, I have this massive audience. No, every time I write a question, I write an answer, I make sure every sentence counts, every paragraph, every period, every exclamation point, whatever, I want to make sure. And so if sometimes I have to be a little bit funnier than other times, sometimes I have to be more like straightforward to the point. And I think people enjoy that, so I think the minute I do become boring, or I think the audience would let me know if, oh, you're not as good as you used to. And sometimes I get that, or sometimes people say, yeah, you've come back. You used to be boring for the past 4 months, and now you're cool. I'm like, what, really? Okay. But I always appreciate feedback. I always appreciate feedback, so that's cool. A couple more questions. Any more questions? Don't be shy. Question right here?
Oh, I heard that you got invited to speak at UCLA's commencement.
Yeah.
And you accepted.
Yeah.
And like you even got so good like comments or feedback.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, oh yeah. So yeah, late last afternoon, but now it's coming out today, it was announced that I was invited to be UCLA's commencement speaker at their graduation. I got my master's degree in UCLA a couple years ago, and of course I would have said, I mean, it's like a complete honor. And you know, some people, they left some bad comments, which of course that's always going to happen. And actually, I did a blog post about it for the OC Weekly. So you know, again, being sarcastic, of course it's an honor, but the way I wrote it was, I don't know who spiked the refried beans over at UCLA, but the administrators were crazy enough to invite me to go be their administrator. So now I joined such illustrious company as a guy from Lincoln Park and some other guy. Of course, I'm totally honored and humbled, but I can't say like, yeah, I did it because I'm awesome and this, that. No, I would never say that in a million years. So based on that, then I said, you know, everyone is thrilled with it. So then after you clicked on the link, there's all these nasty things said about me. But you know, I do expect people to have problems with it. I mean, especially the people that I've destroyed down in Orange County, like, you know, racist and pedophile apologists of the Catholic Church and all that. I mean, the people that I really go after. Of course, I expect that. For the most part, I mean, the feedback that I've seen, people are happy and people say, oh yeah, it's a cool choice. You know, it's an honor. It really is an honor. I really can't express how cool an honor it is to do that. And not everyone's going to be happy with it, but oh well, that's fine. Oh well. I mean, I'll be offended if there's not a campaign to try to remove me from being. Come on, if James Franco got one, why can't I? Come on. Of course, I have that gallows humor just because I'm used to so much criticism over the years. I have a skin of steel. Very few things can actually penetrate me. Like, actually, I would say next to nothing. People have tried everything. Jokes about my family. They've even done death threats against me. Whatever, I just write about it then. Like, oh yeah, this idiot threatens to kick my ass when I go speak. Join me, I'm the guy with the glasses. Two more questions, and then after that, I'll speak with you folks as long as you want to. Obviously, I have some books for sale, talk to you and all that. Two more questions. Don't be shy. No more questions? One more question. One more. Question right there.
So why do Mexicans like the Smiths and Morrissey so much?
Why do Mexicans like Smiths and Morrissey so much? That is actually the longest answer I have in the book, which is 6,000 words. It was based on a cover story that I did in 2003 when Morrissey had a concert at the well now it's the Honda Center, back then it was Arrowhead Pond, and he opened for Agora, which is this huge Rock en Español act. And it's actually a topic that's been written about so many times in Rolling Stone and all these things. People are just obsessed. Why are Mexicans so obsessed with Morrissey and the Smiths? And so my column just, talked to people and just really debunked it. The answer that you'll always see is that, Mexicans love Morrissey because Morrissey was an immigrant and Mexicans are immigrants. It's a really lame answer. Really, really lame. But my response, it's based a little bit more on just history. So there's a reason why Mexicans, Chicanos, whatever you call them, love new wave music. Like, you also have huge Mexican fan bases for Metallica, for Duran Duran, for The Cure, for any new wave music. Why do you have such a huge fan base for Mexicans who like the Dodgers, the Lakers, the Raiders, but not the Clippers, and not really the Rams? It's just simple demography. There's a lot of, I think some stats, just a huge section of Latinos and Mexicans came of age during the 1980s in Southern California. So, one of the big stations at the time, of course, was K-Rock, and K-Rock would play Morrissey and the Smiths and the Cure before other stations. So Mexicans, when they like that type of music, they're just listening to the music of their childhood or their adolescence, and of course then they teach it to their brothers and sisters, and it just gets perpetuated. Same thing with why there's so many there's such a big Latino fan base for the Lakers, the Raiders, and the Dodgers. Well, because in those years, all those three teams were winning World Series, NBA championships. Of course, that's when the Raiders were in LA and were actually winning instead of being the embarrassment that they are today. It's sad. I'm not a Raiders fan myself. I mean, I don't hate them, but I'm not a fan. But my cousins are, and I just feel bad for them every year. Just they're like always sad and like, yeah, this is the year they never do it. But it's simple explanation, and we could get into more theoretical discussions. Like, I also put out there that a lot of Morrissey's music, it's very existential, just like Mexican ranchera music. And I actually compare Morrissey's most famous song, or the Smiths' one of their most famous songs. There is a light that never goes out, which has a lyric that if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side would be a heavenly way to die. So you have that. Then I compared it to a ranchera song called Cama de Piedra by Cuco Sanchez, which in Spanish goes, El día que me maten, que sea con 5 balazos y se acercas a ti. Basically, the day that they kill me, may it be with 5 bullets and be close to you. Sentiment for sentiment, it's exactly the same lyric. So, I mean, that's more theoretical, but honestly, the answer that I'm happy with is the one just with simple demography and the times that Morrissey and the Smiths were relevant. Or as I tell people, Mexicans probably just have better taste in music than other people too. That's it. So, okay, any more questions?